So I can do the timer, but I don't think anyone's gonna show up because we didn't say
wasn't.
anything.
No. Where did
But
it go? There it is.
PM. Call this meeting to order of the Environmental Advisory Board.
Ready for another happy meeting?
I am. Always a happy meeting. First item on the agenda is to approve the minutes from last meeting. Do I have a motion on the floor?
I'll move.
Do I have a second? Okay, thank you. Any discussion or changes from those meeting minutes? Okay, thank you. Up here, Nora's put maybe it's up here. Oh, need a vote? I'm sorry. All those that are in favor of approving minutes from last month, say aye.
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 Thank you.
I'm abstaining.
You're abstaining?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. We also have a public comment section now, and if anyone has public comments they want to add, there's a sheet that'll allow you to sign up for it.
And no sign-ups tonight.
No sign-ups tonight, thank you. Any council member comments they'd like to present at this time?
Yeah, hey guys, how's it going?
Is that all?
Yeah? No, listen, so we had one council meeting since our last meeting. I told you I'd report back. I believe the one rezoning we had didn't go to the EAB, so it's not applicable on that one. But I do plan to spend this time on future meetings letting you know how the rezonings you saw resolved at council. We also had a meeting, me and the chair and the vice chair, about some ways forward to get to the place where we're voting directly on the merits of a rezoning. And there was some disagreement, I would say, process-wise, how that could happen between me and the staff and the lawyers talked to me, and lawyers think we need to make some sort of UDO change before you guys can officially vote. And also may come down to exactly what you're voting on and how that's worded. You know, whether it's a vote for an approval of and recommending approval of the whole rezoning, might pull in certain legislative conditions that we're required as a body to consider, or if it's more narrow, approval of the conditions that are presented or something like that. Was kind of my response. Maybe it's a more narrow discussion about particularly the environmental conditions. Are you satisfied with what's been proffered in this project to mitigate whatever risks are on the site? So we're still working through that, and I know we have something on the business sort of related, but it could tie into that later. So that's where we're at, and I'll keep you guys up to date and to see where that goes. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Any staff announcements?
Yes, a couple. So we just heard we have 2 new sections on the agenda. So moving forward, we will have a public comment period, which, as it says, it's for the public. So people will come, they have 3 minutes to speak as an individual, and then if you're representing a group, you'll have 9 minutes to speak. And then we have the council member comment section, which we just talked about. And next announcement is board members, you may have noticed that I sent a link to the All in Apex newsletter to your email. We just wanted to send that as staff to make sure that you guys are signed up. It's super informative. If you want information about everything and anything going on in town, definitely sign up for it. And we actually have some environmental programs that are going to be advertised in the newsletter. Apex is participating in Creek Week this upcoming March, which is a regional event. And we're super excited. We've got some creek and stormwater themed environmental programs that we're going to advertise in the All in Apex. So make sure you're signed up. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Nora. Next order of business is rezoning case 25, Charlie Zulu 24. This is the North Salem Street mixed use.
Good evening, Matthew Carpenter with Parker Poe, 301 Fayetteville Street, here this evening on behalf of the developer, Merit Group. I've also got Bob Zumwalt with Kinley Horn with me tonight. He's our landscape architect and will also be available for questions. I'll give you a quick overview of the case and then go through the environmental commitments we've included in the worksheet and the application, and then we'll be happy to hear your recommendations. The site is a 32.3 acre site just south of US 64 at the corner of North Salem Street and All-Wheel Drive. You can see it's several different parcels outlined in yellow. This is really one of the last large tracts left fairly close to downtown Apex. And you can see some of the adjacent uses. To the north, we've got Crossroads Ford of Apex. To the west, we've got Haddon Hall, and then a different part of Haddon Hall to the south. Across the street is Thales Academy, and so this is a very important area and something that I think staff has been looking at for potential development a long time. There have been a number of folks that have talked to staff, but this is really the first developer to move forward with a rezoning case. So the current zoning here is residential, agricultural, and rural residential, and then there's a tiny section that's planned commercial. You can barely even see it on the slide, but it's labeled there as PCCZ. And then the proposed zoning is planned unit development. It's similar to a lot of cases that y'all review where we're asking for a PUD approval. PUD process obviously is different than a regular conditional rezoning because we have maps and concept plans and also a PUD text document that sets forth the conditions that are applicable to the site. And so sometimes you see PUDs in Apex for single-family subdivisions or smaller cases, but I think this is really the type of project, as I'll get to in a moment, where a PUD is helpful because we've got a mix of residential and commercial uses and housing types. The land use map here is mixed use. So you can see wherever you see that angled striping in Apex, it means that it's a mixed use area. And the different stripes obviously have different meanings. Here we have the orange is high density residential. The cream color is medium density residential. The blue is office institutional, or office employment rather, and then the red is commercial services. And so you can see with the striping around 64 that the land use map views this area for intense development, things like a vertical mix of uses, a mix of multifamily and potential townhomes, and then single family to the south. You can see that the orange striping is sort of focused at the intersection of All-Wheel Drive and North Salem Street. The idea, and we've talked to staff about this generally in the land use map, is that density, the most dense housing will be located at the intersection and then transition down as you move to the existing neighborhoods. So we spent a lot of time, even before we filed this case, on trying to develop our concept plan and a concept plan that honors what's shown on the land use map. So this slide is just to show, since it was hard to see on the last screen, and I know it's important to you all, the pond that's on the site, and then the stream to the south of it. So we have had a jurisdictional determination. The pond is jurisdictional. I have a 50-foot buffer, and we'll be keeping the pond, as I'll get to in a moment. And then obviously the stream south of the pond will be buffered. This is our concept plan. So we filed this case December 1st. We got staff comments back middle of January, and then we resubmitted February 1st, or the first business day of February. And so this is the most recent version of our concept plan. We've had one round of staff comments. You can see that we've tried to concentrate the higher density areas at the intersection of All-Wheel Drive and North Salem Street as the land use map recommends. We've got the different districts called out. MU1 is the non-residential and multifamily district. So we envision apartments there with some ground floor retail and commercial. And then when you move to the west, there's an MF3 district, which is some multifamily, but without the commercial component. And then when you move south on the site, the density and intensity changes significantly. MR2 is meant to, the orange district is meant to be sort of a transition area where we may have a mix of townhomes and apartments. And then the yellow area is townhomes, and that's the area where there was medium density was the recommendation on the land use map, which is around 7 units an acre is that recommendation. And so we're coming in right around that in the area shown in yellow. Obviously, you can see the large green area around the pond. We're saving the pond, and then a lot of our RCA and open space will be around that pond. It makes sense for several different reasons because, number one, it's jurisdictional, but also to provide the transition to Haddon Hall to the west. So we think the layout makes a lot of sense. We're still working through some issues with staff on traffic, working through the TIA comments. I know that's not exactly your purview, but it does impact things. And so there are still more changes as we move through the review. In terms of proposed environmental conditions, I've tried to break them out into the apartments and the townhomes. So some of these are common ones: 1 sign per SCM to reduce pet waste and prohibit fertilizer. 70% of landscaping will be native species. No single species will constitute more than 20% of the plant material. The existing pond will be preserved. We've widened the perimeter buffers to the west and south from, I believe, 15-foot buffers are required under the UDO, and we've widened that to 20 feet. Signage adjacent to wooded or natural areas, and then the apartment buildings will have a green building certification. And that's not the full language of the condition, but the condition lists the different potential possible certifications. And then for townhomes, all units will have a 220-volt outlet to the exterior for EV charging, at least 4 pet waste stations, and then again, we've widened the buffers. I have this one on this slide because the buffer to the south is along the townhome portion. And then just a couple other things to touch on. In December, I believe mid-December, a neighbor sent us a video of a bald eagle on the site. And so we hired a consultant at the beginning of January, as quickly as we could, to do an endangered species study of the site. They completed that report. They didn't find any endangered species on the site or an eagle nest. They noted the locations of different nests at Jordan Lake and other surrounding areas, and concluded that the eagle was likely feeding on site because there's a pond. But we did want to take that seriously. We wanted to know there was a nest out there that we needed to account for in our permitting and planning, and so we went ahead and had that done. So with that, we're happy to answer any questions. Yeah, sure. Bob has one thing to mention.
Hey, Bob Zumwalt, Campaign Horn. Just want to mention one thing. There's a 65-inch willow oak at the south edge of the site, and we're going to preserve that and incorporate it into a pocket park.
That was on right there. Yep.
So building off your comment just now, what percentage of trees are you preserving on the plot?
So we don't have a separate tree save condition. I believe the RCA requirement is 20%. Is that right, Bob? Yeah. So you can see that some of the site is wooded, but there are several houses, and then there are open fields and yards. And so I think we'll keep as many trees as we can to meet the RCA requirement. Obviously, a lot of the trees in the most dense area at the intersection will come down, but especially the trees along the in the southwestern portion there will likely remain. So,
is there an intent to have common areas or some sort of management company handling?
Yes. Yeah. So there will likely be an HOA for the townhome community, and then the apartments will probably be owned by, typically by one owner that manages the apartment complex. And so, Bob, are we thinking that the pond will be part of the townhome HOA right now? I mean, we don't know that yet, but
Yeah, we don't know. I think we want to incorporate it into the amenity package with walking trails and things. So I'm not sure if it would be part of the apartments or the townhomes.
No, I'm sort of wondering who's going to be maintaining that and ensuring that the signs are up and the
right
waste stations are maintained and things like that.
Yeah, it will either be, it'll have to be platted in one section or the other. So either the HOA will own it and maintain it, or the apartment owner it'll be on the apartment piece and they'll have to own and maintain it, or some combination. We probably want to avoid that, just thinking out loud. But yeah, that's more of a site plan issue. But I do think we can. I think that it will be maintained by one or the other. And there are incentives built in to do that, right?
So going back to the trees, I stopped counting at 150 dots on your tree study. So there are a substantial number of very
Right.
large size trees. So you don't have, what is the strategy to offset that loss of those trees? Because most of them did look like they're gonna be within the construction limits.
Right. Again, so right now the RCA is the only condition. We're happy to evaluate some sort of replanting condition if that's the board's recommendation, but we don't have a specific condition today to address that.
And then with regard to the willow oak, on the previous, is that an accurate depiction of the extent of the canopy in relation to where the little park is? Okay.
That is the surveyed location, and that is the root zone protection area around it.
That is the root zone protection area. That extends a little bit off the green.
Right. That's just a conceptual box. We won't be able to do anything within the drip line of that tree. So
Okay, but you're only going to the drip
we'll
line?
go to whatever apex requires that we protect. It's either 1 for 1 or 1 1/4 for 1, I believe. But we have a decent sized park that we think is going to go in that area, and so the plan is that it will be incorporated and saved. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about, is that just the conceptual blip where the proposed cul-de-sac nicks the RCA area?
I mean, where we go through
On the western side, yeah.
where we
Yeah.
go ahead. Where we go through the buffer, we would obviously cut the trees down to build the cul-de-sac. Is that what you mean?
Well, it looks like,
Yeah, so that's a cross-access connection that is required under the UDO.
no, I'm talking about the cul-de-sac up there at the top near the
The
northwest.
top left?
Yeah,
Yeah, I am too.
okay.
So the UDO requires us to connect to existing substreets. What we've proposed instead of that is a cul-de-sac. And that's why it's shown that way. But to do that, we have to write that into our PUD because it is modifying the UDO requirement. And part of that condition in the PUD text is that there will be a pedestrian connection from Charlie and Downs Lane into the site, around the recreation area and the pond. So there has to be pedestrian connectivity, but we are proposing, and partially because of the future extension of all-wheel drive, we thought that it didn't make sense for another connection here, and staff has been open to that. I don't think they've taken a final stance on it, but we've been talking through that with them.
So in the commercial space, are you anticipating a grocery store?
No, we're not. There are not plans for a grocery store. That is a use that's permitted in the PUD text, simply because we try when there's been this huge push in Apex for non-residential areas, for the tax base and just as amenities to residents. And so when we have someone bringing a non-residential case, we try to think of potential uses that could go there that might not be part of the plan now, but that would be an effective use there. Obviously, the site isn't laid out, and what we're proposing wouldn't permit a Harris Teeter with a big parking lot, because we only have non-residential permitted in the red area, MU1. But could there be some sort of small grocery store potentially? And that's what we wanted to leave the door open for.
So would you characterize this as sort of a car-dependent development?
Maybe in the sense that every development in Apex is car dependent, but I think that there will be more walkability here than a lot of other projects in Apex. And we're also talking about bus service and how that interacts with our property frontage with transportation staff. So that's an ongoing discussion too, because there's an existing bus stop at Crossroads Ford, and could we in some way integrate that with our site? We're having those discussions.
Is that a sheltered bus stop?
The existing stop?
Mhm.
I don't think so, no.
Any benches?
At Crossroads Ford, no.
So it's just a sign? Okay.
Yeah.
Today.
But there's service here, yeah.
I mean, I would say as far as Apex goes, this is probably one of the more walkable communities, to be honest, because there's going to be vertical integration, apartments, townhomes, and it's
open space.
You
and
could probably
trails.
walk to
Yeah.
downtown in
So you
15
just-
minutes. Yeah.
Is
So,
there a sidewalk the whole way from downtown to here?
there might be.
It's hard to see
It's
on this
close.
aerial.
It's close. I don't know off the top of my head.
There may be.
But you definitely have to take your car to the grocery store.
Yes.
Or to Costco. I mean, which is very unfortunate because, you know, this is a gateway to Apex and on a major transportation corridor.
I think with the grocery store comes 250 surface parking stalls. So I would think this is a better gateway to downtown to see vertical integrated, nice looking buildings, walkable, yeah.
Yeah, there have to be iterative steps, right? I mean, we can't create an urban downtown, you know, from one site. And so the idea is that this is an iterative step in the right direction. So.
And I noticed you had a few headwater wetland areas. All those are gonna be filled in?
That's right. I think well, not all of them, no. There's 4. Yeah, you want to talk about that?
There's 3 of them that are kind of in that field.
Here.
Yeah.
There's a wetland there.
And those, I think the grand total of all of them combines about 12 or 14,000 square feet. So,
Okay.
yeah,
And
so
is-
those we would impact those, we'd get permit and impact those.
And is there another pond above that one you're gonna keep?
Yeah, there is a small one.
There is a pond
Yeah.
there? In the channel between them, how did that rate as a stream?
It's not a stream.
It's not a stream.
Only stream is the one that comes out of the big pond there.
South side.
Yeah.
And did I hear you correctly? You don't anticipate putting in any pet waste stations at the apartments?
No. Well, that may have been how the slide was written. The condition, I believe that we checked the form, and I think we added some text under that section that said there'll be 4 across the site. And we don't know exactly where those will be, but no, we think that there will be some, at least one in the non-residential area and by the apartments. But they need to be placed strategically because we don't want them, you know, in front of all of the retail along the street either. So, you know, we're trying to be mindful of the leasing ability of that commercial space because it's very delicate and very difficult sometimes to lease, you know, commercial spaces integrated with apartments above it. And so the developer here has a lot of experience doing that. And so they wanted to be careful with the condition of, you know, we 100% want the waste to be in the right place, but we just want to be mindful of exactly where they're going to be.
So you're looking at a total of 4 for the whole project, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what we have in the form. Yeah.
I was a little confused on that.
Yeah.
So when fully occupied, how many people are possibly living there?
How many people?
Or units?
Let's go with units.
So the unit counts, I can give you the maximums that we have now.
I think that's,
That would be
Yes.
Thanks, John.
Oh, thank you, Bruce. That's right. So we have 450 total units, a max of 250 multifamily and 200 townhomes.
200
I think we
townhomes.
need more pet waste stations.
Yeah.
Trying to find where.
Are there any other questions for these gentlemen?
Yeah, are we gonna go back to the pond? Did you intend to talk more about the pond, or,
We can right now.
okay, let's do that. I noticed, I believe you said you'd meet the 10-year stormwater. You're not looking for 25?
So actually, I looked at this today. I believe because of where the site is located, we have to do the 25. Is that accurate, Bob? Yeah, it says that we're in the upper Beaver Creek.
Jeff gave us the thumbs up in the
The
back.
yeah, the upper Beaver Creek Basin, and so the UDO here, I believe, requires the 25, which is why I didn't check the box because we wouldn't be, you know, upping the requirement if we go with the 25. We can't do
Okay,
less.
I didn't realize that. Okay, so will you be rebuilding the dam on this pond. And my question was, I guess, that's a big pond.
Yeah.
And why I wanted to go towards the 25-year or even 100-year, if we rebuilt that pond to use it as a retention pond also,
Do you want
if
to speak
that's
to that?
possible.
Yeah, I think we're not using it right now, right?
We're not using it.
As for retention.
They'll evaluate the dam to make sure it's safe.
Yeah.
But I've been doing this 30 years and I've not successfully seen you be able to drain a pond, let it dry out, and not have wetlands in the bottom, and then you're not allowed to use it for stormwater. So God forbid you use the lowest spot that already holds water, but you really
That's
can't.
absolutely insane.
It is, I know, you're right.
And that's too bad. Some time ago, when I was on the council, I was trying to push for at least one of these ponds. They're so dang shallow to drain them down and dig them out somewhat, because I even look at Lake Pine over here. If you look at it, you can wade across about 2/3 of it. That's how shallow that thing is. And it's filling in with reeds and stuff now, which I look at the long-term quality of the pond. And what you're saying is you can't do it. I was going to try to hammer you to do it, quite frankly, to drain it and clean it out. Although you could get a hell of a backhoe there and, dig it out while it's still wet. All right, I guess we can't do that. Although,
Back to the waste stations. It's item issue 27, goal, whatever it is. Our goal is one waste station for 25 residential units or townhomes.
So that one says if single family, which is why I didn't fill that one out. 27.
Well, it talks about residential units / townhomes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and that's fine. We can certainly use that one. That's why I didn't check it in the form, and we used the other standard instead.
And for if you're having one apartment building up there, MU1, then
Right.
2 waste stations there at the apartment building, space somewhere that's amenable to commercial and residential.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
That's what I would recommend.
Okay.
That we adopt 27.
Yeah.
Also, the townhome areas and I guess the grass areas too, the apartment area. I would like to see the project use warm season grasses. That would be goal number 20. And I would ask that be used.
I have a few to add to the list. I would like to add number 10, which is the tree replacement, replacing large type trees. It does look like you do have some open space in that RCA area where there could be an opportunity to install additional tree canopy, just because of the history of land use there. Let's see, not sure if it'll end up being applicable to you, but number 2 as well. No land clearing or disturbance shall be permitted within the riparian buffer. I would also like to strike from that one, greenway and. So except for the minimum necessary to install required sewer infrastructure. Number 13, board, they have 70% native vegetation. I was thinking 75 would be appropriate. Also, and maybe the board needs to have some discussion about these, 2 additional ones that are not the standards. The covenants shall not prohibit properly maintained pollinator habitats and naturalistic landscapes on the lots or in the common areas. And a minimum of 1 public transit stop shall be provided within the development and shall include a shelter with benches.
Can you remind me what number the pollinator species?
Oh, that one is, that's brand new.
Okay.
That is-
Oh, okay, that's, okay.
That's not a.
I'll trust Nora to get that one, get
Yeah.
that down.
Nora, if you need me to send you the language, I can do that.
Any other recommendations?
Number 22, I see you said you should provide 5 additional feet of buffer width that is required by the UDO. And then I look back, it says along the west side of North Salem, it's gonna be a 10-foot buffer.
So the wider buffers are from between this site and the existing residential.
Which is along the western and southern parameters, which is your 20-foot type B.
That's right. Yeah, the buffer on North Salem Street has been, we're discussing that with staff too, because, you know, in some ways staff has instructed us that this should be more of an urban area, more walkability, buildings closer to the street. And then the UDO, I believe, would require a 30-foot thoroughfare buffer along North Salem Street. And so those two things, you know, don't really coexist, and we're trying to, again, push the residential density closer to Salem Street and away from the existing single family. And so the buffer on North Salem Street's an ongoing discussion. And
Yeah, I recall the 30 feet from before type
Right.
E buffer, which is a telephone
Right.
pole every 100 feet.
right.
We've got we're working with staff, and they've asked us to provide some cross sections to show them what
Streetscape.
all-wheel drive and Salem Street will look like once we get the widening we're doing, plus the parking strip between the sidewalk and the street side trail. And, you know, so there's a 10-foot trail on both of those streets, and then the buffer, and how does the building sit in relation to that? So we're working through that. They would prefer we don't plant out the retail frontage. They'd like to keep the view open into the site, which I think helps the retail. But in our next submittal, we will have those sections in the submittal, if you're interested in seeing it.
And I agree with you on the retail, but where the townhomes are,
So the townhomes are, we've got a condition that says all the townhomes in T4 will face Salem Street. They'll be pushed up to the street, have porches, and the alley will feed them from the back. So it'll kind of try to continue that streetscape rather than turning the back of the units to the street.
but you still have 10-foot buffer there.
That's right.
Um,
So you have a 10-foot buffer.
I disagree with 10-foot buffer, I'm
Well,
sorry.
you have a 10-foot buffer, and then you have a 10-foot front yard setback on the lots.
Yeah.
So the front of the house, the closest it could be to the right of way is, you know, here to close to the wall back there, 20 feet. So, and I think that feels.
To me, everybody has a different feel.
I wouldn't live
feels
there,
bad
but
to
there are
me.
a lot of people who would. I mean, it's
Yeah,
kind of that urban feel. Real, you know. I'd love to be able to walk downtown, to be honest with you, from somewhere like that.
I agree with the walk downtown. We all are in agreement with that. But 10 feet, I would want to see 30 feet somehow. You know, when I go to the airport and I go down into Morrisville and I see these pieces that are built. Now, these are apartments. Of course, they're butt ugly, 4 stories. It's not quite like townhomes, but nevertheless, I like I like the country feel myself. That's why I came here originally, and I'd like to keep it. And I just think a 10-foot type B buffer doesn't do it. Besides that, we're all gonna probably be dead before these damn things become B buffers. You know, really. Realistically, I see some of these B buffers.
So just if I could build on that, Bill, just so I can get sort of a mental picture. So on 1010, you have the Myrtle Grove, I think is the street, and you have you have a sidewalk and then the townhomes.
Right.
Is it like that type of distance are we talking about?
I believe so. I don't know what that distance is off the top of my head, but the idea is for there to be a pedestrian-oriented sidewalk, streetscape, past going to the front doors of these
Okay, so
townhomes.
like the Groves.
That's right. Yeah. And that was the front the North Salem Street facing townhomes, that was a suggestion of staff too. And so then we thought, well, does it make sense to have pedestrian townhomes, oriented townhomes facing the street, and then a 30-foot buffer? And so we're trying to work out that section. Also, if there is some sort of transit stop along the frontage, you don't want that to be separated by a wide buffer either. So those are all things we're balancing in the concept plan and trying to work through. So
We can recommend adding more.
I still disagree.
Yeah.
30-foot, to me, a 30-foot buffer is, I mean, from here to you is 20 feet,
right.
right? So we're not talking about huge expanses.
Yeah.
And the downside is obviously you're gonna lose one row of townhomes. And I understand the economics that you don't want to see, but to me I don't know what those people do in the groves if they sit out in their front porch and watch
They don't.
Yeah.
traffic go by
Yeah,
on
they don't.
1010.
Well, then maybe we should recommend, increasing it to 30.
So, go out Center Street back and you can see it, yeah.
Let me get it back. Yeah, it's,
Of course, it may not be much longer
when they widen it, right, yeah. So, it's, well, I'll show it to you. Yeah, I know, I had it open and now I've
Yeah, it
closed
looked
it.
really good.
Yeah,
What it was.
let's see, where am I?
Inside.
It is interior, yeah, let me pull my little guy out.
You got time,
Well,
no pressure.
I know, it is
We're all
tremendous,
watching.
I know, like, y'all can pull up Google
We'll just
Maps.
talk amongst ourselves. I can't.
I can't get it. I'll just drive out 1010, you'll see.
Are there other recommendations from the board?
Well, I think we should do Bill's recommendation.
I'd like to
And-
recommend the 30 feet.
Yeah.
And the all-wheel drive, I don't know, it's off to the side, it's kind of within the development. And if you're gonna do a 10-foot wide type A buffer, you're almost talking something like Leyland Cypress.
Well, so keep in mind from the edge of TH4 north, the streetscape will be apartments with retail on the ground floor.
Yeah,
And so I think it definitely makes sense there. Now, the townhomes maybe, that's a different discussion, but
and I'm good with that.
yeah, and the
just think
part of what we were
it's-
worried about was the jog, like if we were to have that pedestrian-oriented streetscape along the multifamily, and then once you got to the townhomes on North Salem, all of a sudden it jogs, and then you have houses with backyards to the, it would be an odd development pattern.
Yeah, I could see
Yeah.
facing them towards Salem, certainly. But it's an awful short distance from you to me.
Yeah, yeah.
That's my problem.
All right, any other?
Yeah, if I don't mind, if you don't, I'd like to get into the solar business, of course. And
I was almost disappointed.
I'm not gonna disappoint you. I guess that's 36 on this thing in clean energy. What I would recommend, I know this is a recommendation, I've learned about recommendations. They don't go far sometimes, most of the time, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, so I've reduced my request, just hopefully that we can be somewhere in the middle. And I didn't know how many townhomes there were at the time I did this. You said there's 200, so I could change that to 12. I'd like to see 6% or 12 of the townhomes have 3.6 kilowatt solar PV installations.
Okay.
And I'd like to have one home of those shall have solar PV installed before 50% of the building permits are issued. And we've talked about this before, it's the penguin theory. We know what the penguin theory is now. You don't, you haven't been here. Well, the penguin theory is where a whole bunch of penguins get on an ice floe next to the ocean, and every penguin's waiting for the other poor sucker to jump in. And once he jumps in and everything goes good, then they'll all jump in. And that's the penguin theory. And that's kind of what happens with solar. If people actually see it on houses, they get it. They do also. So, the CC&Rs for the development shall not prohibit individual solar PV installations. And the last one is on the commercial, and I tried to write this up while I was here. Solar PV installations on commercial and high-density rental housing shall be sized to provide 80% of the electrical energy for the common area. Just for, I know you can't do it hardly at all for the individual apartments, but just for the common area. And if that bothers you too much, I can reduce it to 50% right now because I'm in a weak position.
Deal.
Okay, we'll do 50%. We'll change that to 50. And the deal is then you'll do it.
I would do it right now, Bill, if I could. I'll, but I will talk to the developer about it and
Okay,
and try to come up with something creative.
I'd
So
appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I will give this to staff as I kind of wrote it up.
Other questions or recommendations, board? Okay, so it's time the recommendations we have has to deal with item 27, 20, 10, 2, and 13 up to 75%, pollinators and a bus stop, plus the 30-foot buffer, 12 to 6% of PV systems, and 50% solar on the common area,
And the 30 foot is in front of the townhomes,
plus the ones you already had marked.
not to push you into the retail.
I'm sorry, plus the ones you already had marked would be included. Do I have a motion for moving forward with these recommendations?
I'll make it the motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, for voting, show of hands, aye.
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 Any opposed?
You let the record reflect I'm recusing myself from this vote.
Oh. Okay, John?
okay,
John,
thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Matthew.
At this point, we are looking at rezoning case 25, Charlie Zulu 21, the Teeter property. We already did Teeter's Teeter? No.
Thank you, Nora. Good evening, everybody. My name is Patrick Kiernan, Jones & Knosson Engineering, and I'm here to discuss this Teeter property rezoning on Holland Road, 2728 Holland Road. The site is just over the EAB threshold of 10 acres. So obviously here we are. This is my only slide to really show because I tried to pack everything in. This is not a plan unit development, so we don't have a plethora of information to give you guys. It's pretty straightforward. A little bit of context on the site. The only access into the site is through the existing Holland Farm neighborhood. So that's obviously one of the main components that we're working through with the neighborhood adjacent to us. There's been early talks about merging HOAs with Holland Farm. That's been an open conversation so far. But because of that, we're bound, as you can kind of just visually see on this exhibit, we're bound by a lot of environmental features on the west side of the property, which also is the kind of the wider end of the property. So usable land is what's sort of in the white area here, and there's just not a lot compared to the 10 acres that we have on site. So because of that, our density is really very low. We're proposing medium density. Because that lines up with the land use map. Talked to planning, and that was their recommendation. Realistically, we're only able to achieve a total of 13 single-family homes by matching similar home sizes to Holland Farm. That equates to a 1.3 unit per acre density. which is actually on the low end of what low density would be. So, you know, we had that discussion with planning. Would it be better to propose this as a low density conditional, change the land use map, or since all the surrounding neighborhoods are all technically medium density, that was the way this proceeded. So I wanted to give you that context because obviously the land that we have to work with is very limited. I went through, you know, I have obviously the application that we sent in that has all the numbered conditions, since I know that's what you guys are all looking at as well. But I've got my own list here of sort of what I flagged as our EAB conditions. So required RCA in this basin would be 25%, 30% if masqueraded. We are starting out with a lower end of 35% RCA would be provided on this site, 40% if masqueraded. So an additional 10% from the UDO requirement. I don't currently have any tree preservation conditions listed specifically, but the two go hand in hand. The site is almost completely wooded, if not completely wooded. So obviously all of the area to the west that we would be saving would also equate to tree preservation. So wanted to speak on that real quick, and you know, we can always talk to staff and see if, you know, if the board's recommendation is to add verbiage regarding tree preservation specifically, so that there's no question about RCA being graded and then replanted. You know, we can certainly visit that. I think that is achievable. You know, a lot of the other standard items we are offering signage provided in HOA areas surrounding SCMs, pollinator friendly and native flora within those SCM planting areas. 75% of plant species used in the landscape design native to eastern U.S. No single species or vegetation shall constitute more than 20% of the plant material. Perimeter buffers, SCMs, and other HOA areas may be planted with clover or warm season grasses, not to be restricted by any covenants. We are proposing a minimum of one pet waste station for the 13 single-family homes. No restriction. Oh, that's an affordability one. Sorry, that's why I didn't highlight that. Bill, I know we can speak to this in a second, but we are proposing solar conduit in each one of the homes to facilitate future rooftop solar, as well as the solar options available verbiage on the marketing signs that would be placed out on Holland Road, just to kind of get people, you know, aware that that possibility is there and that the conduit is available already. Garages shall be wired with a 220 volt outlet inside the garage for EV charging. And then for stormwater management in this basin, we are only required to treat the 10-year storm, but we would be upping that to meet the 25-year requirements above and beyond the state and Apex requirements here. So that's kind of a rundown of the conditions that we have for you tonight. One stormwater pond is our current plan. That would be kind of situated here between the perennial stream buffer on the far west side and the intermittent stream buffer that sorts of cut through the center of our property here. We do have some interconnectivity requirements from the UDO that would ultimately connect Bella Casa to the south up through Holland Farm to the north using our property, and then in the future this Hartley property is the only one that would remain undeveloped for now. So obviously, you know, just kind of looking at street stubs, there's a world where, hey, it makes sense to just do one continuous street that connects through there. But we look at that as an opportunity for cut through for people to maybe speed through the neighborhood and use it as a shortcut. But B, it also has an effect on the existing pond on that Hartley property to the south. So obviously that's off-site. We're not here to talk about that pond necessarily, but we wanted to make sure that our street stub, which is required and which is included as a zoning condition, would be situated in such a way that the future developments can also stand a chance at avoiding that pond if they were to choose to save it. It's a farm pond. There's not really a lot of drainage area. It might get filled in one day, and this all might be for naught, but we wanted to at least give it a fighting chance. So realistically, our layout includes a road connecting to kind of a spine road that runs east-west, and then one more road connection to the south. lots on either side of that road, and it's fairly straightforward. There are 3 wetlands on site that are all within stream buffers, or, well, this one is not, but this is in a low-lying area that we are planning to avoid anyway for drainage issues. That's why I've included it in our RCA shading. But we don't have any intent to have any wetland impacts, any stream impacts, and as of now, the only thing that I could see possibly impacting any stream buffers would be any fill grading associated with this stub street, which again, the only reason that it would be close enough to that stream buffer to warrant that would be to help future developers in getting around that other pond. So we've tried to think through all these things in such a way that, you know, if we can avoid any grading in buffers altogether, great. We don't plan for any utilities that would need to go that way. There is a possibility of a greenway connection towards the west. So that would be the only, and we are not including that as a zoning condition that's being committed to, because there currently is no greenway, but there is a town budgeted greenway, north-south Camp Branch Greenway that one day is supposedly going to be built here. So once we get into master subdivision planning, there's a chance that we would be providing an easement. We would not actually be constructing a greenway through there. Greenways are allowed within RCA. So if it's a town funded project in the future, it wouldn't necessarily negate our RCA or affect it. It would just kind of cut through it, likely with any, you know, a bridge over any wetlands or streams or anything like that to avoid further impact. So that's the long and short of it. The only other one that I wrote down as something that we could offer, it just seemed kind of moot to me, is no buffer averaging in the Zone 3 buffer. We do have a Zone 3 buffer on this west side, but all of our development is far enough away from it that we don't have any intent to do that. So if the board's preference would be to have that written in stone, we can easily do that. Other than that, that's all I got for you. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Laura?
So you would be clearing in the RCA to put in the stormwater pond?
So what I have shaded here is actually more than what we're writing into the code. So Apex has rules on their RCA what can and cannot count as RCA for the stormwater, and I think it's anything from the vegetative shelf inward. So the pond itself could count, the shelf could count, but all of the grass slopes making up the footprint of the pond could not count as RCA anyway. So the way this is drawn, there probably would be some green shading around that pond that would be discounted. So whatever we call RCA will meet, you know, Apex's requirements of stormwater, and it will still exceed what we have listed as our condition here.
And so if you did incur the penalty for mass grading, where would that additional RCA go?
It's baked in.
It's already in this green shaded?
Mm-hmm.
So without that, what does the RCA look like?
So I've run some calculations based on our current layout, and our numbers are, like I said, even with or without the 5%, our RCA sort of is what it is based on the amount of environmental features that we are saving that are in the low-lying areas. So I mean, truthfully, we're above 40%, probably any way you slice it. But there are some, your stormwater point, if we got into a situation where stormwater got trickier and we had to grow it, I don't want to necessarily cut ourselves off at our knees right now with percentages, knowing that we're going to meet, whether it's 35 or 40, pretty easily.
Physically it would be located.
What, additional RCA?
No, on the low side, where the low side RCA would be, like your minimum RCA. Versus this, like you're saying, this is.
If we only did 35%, it would probably just follow the stream buffers and wetlands. It would probably just kind of circle around the pond. We would still be saving the stream buffers because we have to. We're not getting into this wetland, so it's not going to look a whole lot different than what you see right now.
Okay. So just if we could, did the board talk for a moment where this property exists in the watershed? The last time we saw rezoning, that was also on Holland Road. It was just up the street. It's in this same watershed, and that tributary sort of meets the tributary that's on your west side.
Mhm.
Fortunately, down below where you have lots platted in the floodplain,
Mhm.
this also, further downstream is where the town also has a flood resiliency grant to restore a segment of stream that is being impacted by erosion a fair bit. So this whole watershed, it's hard to tell how well stormwater is being managed in the watershed, obviously. So I definitely think the 25-year storm is appropriate. If we go any higher, I understand that you have to build a bigger facility, so that means more clearing, so that's really, not a good thing. So definitely the 25-year storm, but this is one of those places that's a little bit environmentally sensitive.
Agreed. I do think that is one of the kind of inherent benefits to the low density that we're able to achieve here. On the land use map, this calls it as medium density, which has upwards of 6 units per acre. Now, granted, with the limited access on Holland Road, we never were going to be able to get another entrance on Holland Road. The only way this was moving forward was through Holland Farm. There are fire code requirements on how many units can be accessing that. So I'm not going to say that, hey, we have 10 acres, we could do 60 townhomes here, because that's not realistic. I think the upper limit of what we could do was like, oh gosh, I'm blanking on exactly how many are in Holland Farm right now, but I think it was going to be like 19 or 20 that we could achieve if we were to go townhomes or a much smaller single family. So I feel like my clients, the developers, have kind of chosen really the only product that fits this site, and it is about as low impact of a development as we could perceive, and then while also trying to avoid all the existing environmental features. I think we've done as conscious of an effort as we could to keep all that in mind.
Just out of curiosity, that the street the stub you have coming in, why is it angled at the stream buffer? Why that?
This one here?
Yeah.
So we have, without showing you the layout, since I don't have that here, we have it coming up here, and then there would be a cul-de-sac here that has some homes up in this nook, and then that kind of takes that angle right here to another cul-de-sac here.
So it can't be oriented more north-south to avoid the stream buffer?
Sort of in just same location, but sort of just in
Yeah.
that. Sure, yeah. This exhibit, I just drew it perpendicular to
Okay.
the property line. This is not exactly.
Yeah, because you did mention there might be some buffer impacts,
I still think it's, because I don't know exactly what the grades are going to be. We need to get that pond surveyed. The LiDAR topography that we have is not really showing the dam super detailed. So part of this, we have some lots that back up to that. So part of this is going to be, consulting with those neighboring properties, getting an analysis on the existing dam, essentially trying to put as much fill in these lots here downstream of the dam to where any homes below it are not below it. They would be sitting up higher than it and no chance for future flooding. But in doing so, that could have an effect that our road is, we're not able to get it down as low as we can. So how much grading is there? Does that mean we have if we have to avoid the stream buffer altogether, how expensive of a retaining wall are we talking about that is also, has its own impacts? So we're not at a point now of knowing exactly what that looks like. And for that reason, my clients have not been interested in the condition of no grading or anything in the buffer, because we want to be able to use the UDO, use that tool in our tool belt, essentially, that if we get into a situation where, hey, we're kind of towing the line of, we have an existing pond, we have an existing stream buffer, put the road where it needs to be, build the houses in a safe condition, where does that leave us? If we have to impact the first, I'm making this up right now, but if you're, 8 or 10 feet into the buffer with grading and clearing, you replant it to RCA standards or whatever you need to do. So I don't have a firm answer without having the full design, but that's the best I can offer right now.
Thank you.
Just for clarification, you said you're doing the HOA covenants to not prohibit clover or natural grass mixed species?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I didn't see that checked on the list.
Yeah, you know, I was just looking through the list, and there was one other that I noticed probably. So 13 and 14 are, we checked 13, we didn't check 14. To me, they sort of go hand in hand. Obviously, the exact way that it's written, we could separate those out and kind of provide 13 and 14. But to my point, that might not be the only one that necessarily wasn't checked that we are providing.
Well, I was looking at 16 and also 17.
Oh, yeah, we missed 16. 17, I'm trying to remember if we talked about 17.
I heard you say that, but I may have been wrong. 17?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if we had specifically discussed that. It's certainly not anything that I have any qualms with. I mentioned that they have discussed merging HOAs with Holland Farm, and
That may be an issue.
well, I asked that question of my clients. If we were to go that route, how does that affect all these covenant restrictions and all that thing? Because you would assume you would have to meet the same covenants that they are. What I was told is that it would likely be sort of a sub-association of Holland Farm, to where they can still have their own set of covenants that may vary slightly, to where you're not completely bound, because that would obviously become problematic if we've agreed to two things that can't be true.
Other questions?
I'd like to go to clean energy. Don't be surprised.
I was waiting for you.
Number 28, I'd like to see at least one home with a solar PV system of 3.5 kilowatts. And that be installed before 50% of the building permits are issued. We have 90%. I wanted to change that to 50% if that's okay with the board. We're back to the penguin theory.
Keep in mind, this is 13 lots. This will be all platted at once. So there will, oh, you said building permits.
Yeah.
Right, okay,
Yeah.
so, okay.
That's,
You're good.
at least that's what we have here on this thing. I just like to see these things come in a little bit early. I remember some time ago, one developer said, okay, we'll stick it in. And I kept going by and waiting and waiting. The very last house, they put it in. So the penguin theory didn't work.
Didn't have a chance.
Yeah.
I'll discuss with my
I
clients.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Patrick.
I would like to add number 2. I realize you might not be able to accommodate that, but I would like to go ahead and add number 2 just because of the condition of the watershed as a whole. And then I would also like to go ahead and add 23, either A or B, and that's signage at the RCA or farm style fence. I mean, you're gonna have a pretty big chunk of what amounts to natural area, so to reduce encroachments or social trails through that, I think that it would be worthwhile having at least some indication
Okay.
that that's just not more land for the neighborhood.
Sure. I can discuss. Thanks.
Anything else, board? So, I'd like to get a motion based on what he's already checked off, adding the 25-year stormwater protection, the,
We have that one already.
okay. The road more north and south, item 14, 16, 17, 28, 2, and 23, A or B. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that those be adopted.
Second.
Recommendations.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? No more discussion. Can I get a vote? Go ahead. Saying aye?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Motion forwarded, passed. Thank
Thank
you.
you all very much.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Patrick.
So the next order of business is new business. Thanks, Nora. Is to have a vote on whether we want to add a second EAB meeting for this process to hear what they have done and agreed to do before it goes to city council or town council.
I love this idea.
I do too, personally. It's like you put effort in and you don't hear back until, like Bill was saying, oh, the last house, they put it on, thanks.
I guess my question is, let's say we vote on this and we say, let's do this. What is the next step and what kind of approvals does this require?
It's easier to hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please.
Still a lot of kind of to figure out what this would look like, kind of how you guys would like to see come back before you. You know, if we require the second the second EAB meeting, you know, how do you want that to look? Do you want them to come back up here and explain in person what they've accepted or what they're proffering to you now after they've gone through the process? Would you prefer it in a letter format? It's really just us figuring out the timing, the documentation, getting it to the council and the planning board, and all that process is going forward.
So from my perspective, what I'd like to see is, as a minimum, here's the items we talked about and voted on as recommendations. Are we able to meet those recommendations? And if not, why not? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I understand that there are valid reasons for them not to be able to conform.
Agreed.
Because they've got a lot of conflicting regulations and objectives that they've got to go to. But I think it would have more impact on us if they would come in and explain to us why they were not able to meet whatever it was we were recommending. I think that would help. It would help us in the future, I think.
Yeah.
And it may make them think twice about rejecting our recommendations too, if they've got to
Have
say yay
some
or nay.
ownership and skin in the game by coming back.
Okay. The one concern with that staff has is potentially they come before you for their second meeting, they explain what they're able to proffer, what they're not willing to offer at that time. There's concern that there might be an attempt to maybe negotiate for more then, which might trigger the need to come back before you maybe for a third meeting if because this is unfortunate and this is just how it's set up before you. A lot of times you'll have wonderful people like Matthew come before you and say, we'll consider this, we'll consider that, but I can't give you an answer. Right. And I don't expect the second meeting to be any different. So there might be a process in the second meeting where they explain what they can and cannot do as far as their proffering, and then you would still make a vote or recommendation at that meeting and not pursue maybe an additional meeting as well.
No.
Perfect.
One more shot
Yep.
is all we would need.
An alternative, I guess, and I don't want to sound weak, but to have them send us a paper of what they've done and explain it to us.
Just read it into the minutes.
Pardon me?
And then just read it into the minutes.
Yeah.
And you could vote on that as well.
It's an alternative. You don't want to make it arduous for them, and at the same time, you want to make them get up on the pole and so you can whip them a little bit.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but you know,
but I think it's
if they have to come in and explain why they're not willing to do something, then I think it may make them give it a little more thought before they just, you know, throw it out of hand. That's what I'm hoping anyway.
And as you consider what this might look like, if there was ever a condition, not that this has happened, but you say you have an applicant come in for rezoning that comes before you, and they want to give you everything that you want. They want to give you your solar, they want to give you all your protections, and they agree to that, and then during the review process, they've met everything, they're going to do that for you. Is there any situation where you would want to waive, or they provide a letter saying we've met all your requirements that you asked for, so they wouldn't have to attend that second meeting? Is that any kind of?
I think that.
Not that that ever happens, but you know.
So they will give us a report right away once they make their decisions from whatever meeting.
I think they're just having the option that you will receive something at the second meeting before they go before any type of planning board or town council. It's just they've agreed to everything, so you're not requiring them to come back before you to explain anything. Yeah.
Yes, that might be a way to get them to accept everything and
or even if they don't agree to everything, as long as they list out what you're saying, I think we're all reasonable except for me. To,
And I think a letter, if you still wish them to come before you and explain and talk to you in person, a letter accompanying that is perfectly fine and reasonable, I think, as well.
okay, and you still want them to come here?
No, I agree with
Okay,
the
just with
letter,
the letter.
yeah.
Okay.
So any other discussion?
This process, let's.
See how it
again,
works.
We're okay, we adopt this, we think this is great. From staff perspective and from the town council and planning and all, how does this get incorporated into the planning process and what additional steps have to be made to make this start happening?
Yeah, we initially had concerns about timing, especially if at the second meeting there was any more negotiation. But if that's off the table, like if you guys are just going to hear why they couldn't do it and make your vote or recommendation at that time, it doesn't really affect our timing. Again, if we have some type of written letter from them, that would be great to include in the agenda packet for both your planning board and your town council. Additionally, we do include what was recommended or what provided in the staff report. It just might expand. That might make an even bigger process. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's it's timing. It'll really affect the timing, but if that's something that you guys want to pursue and move forward with, it'll also give the opportunity for applicants to really come prepared for you before you. Yeah. And then we're going to also explore in the next several months codifying some of the requirements that are more the low-hanging fruit that you guys are seeing all the time, like the pet west stations and things like that as well. So that hopefully when they come up here, you're having more conversations about impactful, meaningful items. Yeah.
That would be good.
And there'll be more updates as Mr. Mahaffey already spoke in their talks with legal and other things. How we can empower the board even more.
Okay. It's okay in a motion to vote on having a second meeting or a letter explaining what they can and cannot do from the recommendations.
I'll make that motion. Is that what
I
you're?
have a second.
I'll second.
I'm sorry.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
I just feel like a few of us are dominating the whole thing, and I don't.
We have open discussion at this time. Earthfest sign up, Nora? I knew you'd come running up.
So in your email that I sent this week, you should have received a link to a Sign Up Genius. And we can just write it here too, but I figured if you wanted a way to have this to add to your digital calendars, you can use the Sign Up Genius. I've got a couple slots made. So there's a setup slot. Let me refresh this.
But you think one of us signed up while you weren't looking?
No, I changed the time.
Oh,
It'll reflect. I don't know why it's updating now, but I changed the time to be 10:30 to 12 because we don't actually start until 12. But I know last year, it was good to be there a little bit early. Probably don't need to be there a full 2 hours early, but 10:30 to 12 is set up. So we've got Suzanne already signed up. We have a couple tabling times. So there's a noon to 1 slot, a 1 to 2 slot, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and then the event ends at 4 that day, so there's a breakdown slot after that. And the breakdown didn't really take that long last year, so probably 30 minutes, 45 minutes for that.
Would it be possible for you to resend that sign up?
Yeah, I can resend it now.
Some of us may have deleted that because we don't like sign up stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's
Saying,
super easy. You just click the slots you want. It'll send you an email. You can add it to your calendars. But if you know now, if there's times you want, I can write that down too and send another reminder email that way. Anybody have any particular times or you want to think about it? I'll send the link back out.
please send the link back out.
Yep.
It'll refresh all our memories.
Perfect.
Appreciate that. Next item is any other discussion on the sign up? No? Okay. Tree subcommittee update?
Yes. So we talked about it last month, but we're going before the town council work session on April 30th to present what we've been working on with this tree subcommittee. And so our initial subcommittee group has officially ended because we only had it listed to work until January. So we could kind of form that subcommittee, and if anybody wants to join in, we would love that. But we're pretty much done with the work we've been doing. We just need to refine our presentation that we want to give, make any final edits, and then have a couple meetings. Bruce and I were thinking we don't need to meet as often as we did before. So maybe we need to have one more meeting before the March EAB meeting. That way in March we can come and share with the whole board what we've worked on, and then maybe have one more meeting again before that April 30th date. And if we need more, we could add more, but I'll send to Alan, the clerk's office, our new statement of purpose of we're making the subcommittee group to finalize and review our information there. So Mark and Suzanne, I'm guessing you guys still want to be a part of it? Perfect.
And I believe it's appropriate to have one more review before we finalize everything.
Yeah. Yep. Anybody else interested in joining? We would love more feedback if you want to join.
We'll get it that night when you present it here.
Yeah, that's true. True too.
That's how it always works.
Well, if not,
Do we
then
need to make a motion to establish the subcommittee?
oh yes, let's do that.
A motion to establish,
Reestablish?
reestablish the tree subcommittee for no more than one meeting. Is that fair? Can I get a motion for
I
that?
would say
I
just
would say through
April.
Okay, through
Yeah.
April. Okay,
Yeah.
through April.
Through April, yes.
I'll move.
Have a second?
I second.
Oh, not here. Get some.
Sandra.
Aha.
Give it to Sandra.
Any further discussion? You guys are all welcome. It's a rip-roaring time. Can we?
Well then, we can email and get those dates set
I
up.
need a vote, Bill.
Oh,
Can we please vote on the motion on the floor to reestablish the committee? Aye.
Aye.
There you go.
we'll get those meetings planned.
Thank you. The enhancement environmental plan review.
I'm gonna let Bruce come back up for that. Just the radio package. Well, I just thought if they had questions.
So this isn't quite like a full review for this evening. It was kind of just to let you know we provided some of the information for you. I understand some members had issues opening up the larger SharePoint document as well. So what I'll do is I'll go in and I'll make it smaller PDF that we can remail out to you so you can review what the environmental action plan looks like for the Viridia development. I apologize that it was hard to open for some of the members here, but essentially let me pull that up. If you guys have any questions, I'd encourage you to collect those and we can discuss it moving forward. But yeah, there's some good information. The Viridia plan also goes into things like air quality and things like that. Some stuff we might start considering a bit more in things as we look at enhancing our environmental standards for the town itself as a whole and things like that.
Bruce, I noticed there was a lot in there that, at least to my reading, it just seemed like there was some statements of, we're just gonna follow the federal, state, and local laws. Is there an easy way, as I read that, to sort of tease out what just is an existing law that they're just following and they have just put that in the text versus actually an enhancement above and beyond? Is there an easy way to do that, or just sort of just become familiar?
No, that's a great question. I think what we might want to pursue moving forward, and this is something I think I want to create for myself as well, is to provide maybe you guys with a table that kind of shows you what they're trying to meet and how they're enhancing that. I think that'd be a really good way to communicate that to you. That's a great point. I didn't think about that.
Because if it's an enhancement,
It's going
meeting the
for real.
state and federal guidelines doesn't really enhance.
No, exactly. Yeah. So I can provide that for you. Was there a specific section?
No, no. I did read the whole document,
Yeah.
so it's a little overwhelming, so I can't recall off the top of my head one
I understand.
specific section, but I did find myself sort of wondering, is this an enhancement or is this just what everybody does?
It's whatever. I'm sure it is.
I mean, there was one thing in there that I found kind of surprising about being able to put non-residential buildings in the floodplain. I wasn't real sure how that was an enhancement, but it was interesting.
Must be the hospital.
Was there any other aspects of the plan that we'd like further discussion or further research to provide to you guys?
Until I'll get a good copy. or
Absolutely.
whatever.
We'll get the PDF copy out for you as soon as possible.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
And I see another item here for a workshop session.
Yeah, I brought that up just because I feel like it would be a good way for us to maybe think about how we're looking at some of these applications, and we get people who are more experienced
Yes.
could show us how they review these applications, and then so we have kind of like a deeper dive understanding. So Suzanne had mentioned that she would offer her services on how she reviews it, so everyone on the board would be amenable to that and utilize how you
interested. Yeah,
who's
I
every-
can tell you how I
you
do it.
like to do it. So I know I'd want to take her up on her offer, so I just wanted to bring that to the board to see if anyone else would
So
be
we have,
interested.
Oh, I'm interested, but the question is, when do we want to have that session? And and does that session need to be announced to the public?
I would imagine that it probably would need to be announced to the public. We could probably do it in a different room. I don't know that we.
Yeah, do it
Right.
upstairs.
Yeah.
Like we did the tree committee.
Or depending on how many people, however many people were interested would dictate the size of the space. And really, it would just be sort of an overview of how to use remotely sensed data, because, we don't visit the properties.
No.
So you sort of have to, how do you determine what's on the landscape? What is the environment
Right.
to be able to apply these conditions? So it would be like that kind of thing.
I'm sorry.
I think a workshop is appropriate and needed, especially for some of us that are new to the board as a whole. So can I ask,
Is that something we can coordinate with Nora?
Nora can coordinate with you and we can find a time and date and get the invites out to the team here and as a starting point?
Yeah, from my end, yeah, we can coordinate.
Okay, thank you.
And if we need to use like the training,
This particular meeting, but some of your meetings are shorter.
Yeah.
You could use that time to transition over to a workshop, you write an agenda with like one item on it. 6:30, you can adjourn this session and start the work session upstairs and.
Oh, that's a good
That's,
idea.
that's,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
this one's
That'd be
getting a
fun.
bit long already. Okay, so with that decided, is there any other items that we would like to bring up for the betterment of the board?
Yeah, I just because I noticed it in the minutes from last time, there was a statement in there about the native plant ordinance, perhaps having some language for this meeting.
The draft is complete. In early March, will be reviewed by the planning director. That'll move forward, and so hopefully that'll come before you guys. The plan, I'm meeting with her before your meeting in March. So hopefully that'll get put on your agenda. You'll have some idea of language then. If there's any conditions, April will be the latest you would see it. Yep. And we're meeting again after we meet in April as well for the tree canopy. Same kind of process. We'll come back in May, June, and present you something.
And just if you wouldn't mind, one more thing.
No,
I read that this week the Charlotte City Council unanimously approved a change to, this is from the North Carolina Wildlife Federation, they approved a change to local vegetation rules that makes it easier for residents to garden for wildlife. And so what they did is they created an exemption for properly maintained pollinator habitats and naturalistic landscapes to be exempt from they have a 12-inch height limit on vegetation. So any properly maintained pollinator gardens or naturalistic landscapes are exempt from that height limit.
Would that apply to HOAs?
Yeah, I don't know how it gets, if you can supersede HOA, existing HOAs or not, but perhaps for future developments, that may be something the board considers an apex. I don't know if apex has it kind of looked like we had a height limit of 8 inches.
We just added it.
Okay,
I don't know what the exact number is, but it was pretty recent, last year or two, we added it as a health and safety ordinance where, and it's for the cases where maybe they can drone, snakes or whatever, people get upset and you gotta maintain them below a certain height. So it's a health and safety thing to deal with some, properties in town that aren't maintaining their property at all, because there's a reason to go in and trim it up a little bit for them. So, yeah, we could try to find that ordinance, see what it says, and I think exemption sounds like a great idea.
Okay. As I'm getting ready to plant this whole back 40 of mine with perennials. Anything else? Can I get a motion from the floor on adjourning the meeting?
so moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Can I get a vote? Yay?
Okay.
Meeting adjourned. Fantastic, guys.